guys, I am Lindsay of Lindsey Created and welcome to my fully revamped channel. Here we will be talking about UX UI design, startup life, and a little bit of e-commerce as well. If you don't know me, I am a UX UI designer or product designer by day, and I also run my own e-commerce store where I have a line of freelancer inspired candles. So I wanted to make this channel. I get so many questions about how to get into UX UI and what to study and what to learn and so many things, and I wanted to make this channel to be able to inform everybody because I want to see more designers, especially women and designers of color in the UX UI space. So here we are. Subscribe to the channel. I am hopefully going to be very consistent. Somebody check up on me, stay on my ass if you need to, and let's do this. So I figured that a great first topic would be how to become a UX UI designer. I identify as self-taught. I went to school for art and design, but I learned nothing in school about UX and UI. Everything I learned on my own, and I have made it to the senior level in this career path. So I get so many questions on how to get started, and I feel like it can be very confusing, and I know it's super overwhelming when you Google. So I have a few tips. We'll share 5 today. I've been in the game for a while, so I feel like I've learned some unique perspective, and I want to share that with you today. So the first tip I have for you is to research your path. This is something that I don't think I took the time to do when I first got started, but it can be so helpful because even if you change your path or you pivot later, just knowing where you kind of want to go as a first goal is so important, and it can probably help a lot. So there are 2 parts of researching your path. One is figuring out what you want to do, and the other part is figuring out where you want to do it. So let's go over those 2 very, very important things. So as far as figuring out what you want to do, UX UI is such a wide field that I feel like there are so many different roles within the discipline that if you have the opportunity in the beginning to explore, it will really help you create your path. So for me, I am a UX UI designer / product designer, and there's a small differentiation between those 2, but overall I cover the full spectrum of UX UI design. So I can do anything from the initial research to wireframe and prototyping to the actual design to prepping it for send off to dev. So I cover the full spectrum. But I think after being in the field for so long and seeing so many people confused on how to get started, I actually think this may be the one place where it's best to specialize and then generalize. Like, you know, in most things, like you learn everything and then you get specific about what you want to do. But I think that can be really overwhelming for some people. So I think that being able to kind of specialize first and then either master that field or kind of grow and expand to different skills to become a more general position will be a lot more helpful. So when it comes to UX UI, if you're really into nerding out and you want to get into the details, get into the data, interview users, and really figure out that kind of thing, then UX research might be your jam, and it is a whole thing on its own. It's its whole own career path, and you can do just that. Now, if you like a little bit of the research, but you also like a lot of design thinking, figuring out the challenges, wireframing, prototyping, figure out those interactions, then UX design plus interaction design might be for you. And you know, if you find yourself struggling when it comes to adding the visuals and designing screens and making them look pretty, then that might be a reason you choose just to focus on UX design. On the flip side, if you're not really big into the research or just doing the research, you know, you can design from it, but if you're not big on doing it or laying out the flow in wireframes, then your specialty might be UI design as well as just general visual design, and that will be where you can stick to making things beautiful, making things cool, and you don't have to deal with the gray boxes or the research. And so, of course, If you think you might like all aspects of that, then you can be a UX UI designer, which encompasses all of those things, and you learn to be pretty great at each of them, and then you move up. So that is how you kind of begin to research your path on what you want to do. Next, you have to figure out where you want to do it. So that generalizing or specialization can come into play a little bit when it comes to where you want to work or the type of work you want to do. So that's something you also want to consider if you have a few options in the path field and you're kind of weighing the pros and cons between one of those jobs. So if you think you want to be general, then you have more options because you can usually find freelance, agencies, startups, big companies that will hire a UX UI designer. Now, if you want to specialize and you're just starting out, if somebody's hiring a contract UX researcher, they probably want somebody who already knows what they're doing versus a big company that might have these types of specialized roles, and they might even have junior roles in each of these paths. So depending on what you choose, it might vary a bit. You're better off as far as full-on availability at any type of position if you generalize. If you specialize, you might have to be a little bit more specific about where you work, if you want to freelance versus if you want to work at a big company. Small startups tend to like the generalized. Bigger startups might have the space for, just a researcher or just an interaction designer. So it all depends. One thing that you can really do is think of where you want to work. If you want to work at a small startup, pick an industry and find startups in those industries and look at their career page. See what type of designers they're trying to hire, or if they're just trying to hire a researcher. Or pick a local agency that you like, or just a general agency that you think is dope, especially one that has junior positions, and see what kind of junior positions they have available. So, again, something that I experimented with was the type of work I wanted to do. I love working with startups. Sometimes just for a break, I love freelancing. I didn't really love agency life, but some people love it. So you're going to have to try out different things. You might fall into something you love immediately, or you might have to move around until you figure out like the best structure that works for you. But kind of having an idea of those things while you're also thinking about the path you want to take is how you research your path. So the second thing that will be really important is learning how to practice. Like, this shit isn't after school football where you can just go and from day one you have a coach guiding you all the way. I mean, you have me, but other than that, you might be confused or overwhelmed or don't know exactly where to start. So whether it's research or design, I can tell you that you need to start at learning the principles. And again, it can be overwhelming because there are tons of information out there. But the good thing about principles is that it's pretty much the same information everywhere. So you can kind of just choose how you like to learn. So if you like YouTube videos, you can find someone on YouTube that shares information and videos on the design principles. If you like to read, you can choose a book. There are plenty of like free online courses just about the design principles, like quick online classes. So you can kind of choose, and at a low entry cost, how you want to study the principles of either design or research. But it's definitely core because you can't start without knowing what is guiding your decisions in either role. So the first thing is definitely to learn the principles. The second thing you want to do, now I'm going to go into the design path because I don't know the exact tips for a UX researcher. I've learned how to do it, but over there. Bye, y'all. It's been fun. Come on back later, yeah? All right, for designers, you are going to want to start with practicing daily anytime that you can. Find some time to practice. So one quick and easy way that's super popular in practicing UX UI is to sign up for like a daily UI or daily UX program. You can Google it. There are a couple of sites that offer it, but basically they're email lists that email you a prompt every day for like 100 days. One might be 365 days. And they're just small things that you can design and practice on. So they might say one day make a calculator, One day they might say make a credit card screen, real life things that you would be designing in apps or on websites as a UX UI designer, and this is your time to practice. Now, one thing I feel like people leave out a lot is that until you really get the hang of things, you do not want to do this kind of thing from scratch. So start out, Google some free UI kits. There will be multiple styles. Find some styles you like. Choose a program that you're going to be designing in. I highly recommend Figma. It's free and it's online based, and startups and companies love when you can use Figma, I promise you. So it's a great thing to start with. The other alternatives are Sketch and Adobe XD as far as the most popular. Choose what you like. But either way, you start with, for me, like I said, these free UI kits that fit whatever program you're using, and you kind of go from there. I think it's a lot easier, it's a lot less time consuming, and you get to kind of develop your own style. You might change colors, change font, try to get something that just has components versus something that's, if I'm trying to design a calculator for the day, I don't want to download a UI calculator. Because what are you changing? The color? I mean, if you want to start there, baby, start there. But I'm just saying. And then eventually as you go on, you might say, okay, I'm just going to start with an iPhone 10 screen, and I'm going to build all of this from scratch with the shapes and the type and everything that I need, and I'm not going to use the UI kit. And that's what you will get to eventually, but just for time's sake and starting and not getting overwhelmed from day one, start with some good UI kits with some good components. Start with some wireframe kits. Start that way. So daily or even weekly design prompts, prompted projects are like a really good way to get started. So I love those. And the next thing you can do is copy work. So by copying other designers' work that you admire, you can find it on Pinterest, Dribbble, award sites, wherever you find design inspiration and, websites or apps or screens that you like, you find them and you practice copying them. That is really a great way to learn, because you will get to a point where you're like, damn it, I can't get this button style down. And you start to Google, like, okay, how do I get a rounded button instead of a square button? Or you start trying to learn the program to do things that you're trying to do. And so in that and copying, you kind of figure out how to put together each little piece. And again, Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. That is how a lot of self-taught designers learn before you start coursework or anything, which I'll talk about briefly. Google, practice. Google, practice. YouTube, practice. Book, practice. But practice is what is going to make you a better designer, and you never stop practicing. This is not like a beginner tip. I still do this shit every other day. Like, whenever I get the time to, I'm still practicing. I'm still learning. This is a very fast-paced industry, and things are always changing. And you have to stay on top if you want to stay on top. I'm just saying. So my next tip, which may sound a little obvious, is to take a course. Now, mind you, I did not take a long form UX UI course until basically last year. So years after having lead positions and senior positions and leading junior designers, I finally just took a UX UI course. So I took the Udacity UX Nano Degree Program course. It's self-paced, but it'll take you like 2-3 months, just depending on like your availability and how much time you have to put into it. You come out with a finished project, and it was a really great experience. And even though, of course, I was already in the field and I didn't necessarily need to know a lot of the things, as a self-taught designer, having been in the game so long but not having any real formal training, it helped calm a little bit of imposter syndrome, because I knew that shit. Like, okay, I know that. Okay, I use that. Okay, I do that. So it helps with that. But of course, if I had the money to invest in it, I probably would have taken it a little bit sooner. I don't know if personally I would have ever done a really expensive boot camp or, paid for a master's degree in UX, or even, did maybe if I had the opportunity starting off, do a bachelor's in UX, because I do recommend you going to school if you want to. But for me, of course, it was a couple $100. Like, that's cool as far as an investment. And if you don't have the money to invest in a course, it's totally fine to find free resources. And so what I kind of recommend is to find one of the courses that is paid or kind of pricey, find the syllabus for that course, and then it may take a little time, but it's free to kind of piece together your own kind of course for yourself, right? So if I can find some really reputable YouTubers or just some really reputable resources on each of these topics in this syllabus, and I go through and I'm learning and I'm doing my daily practice, then I've pretty much made my own course for myself. And yes, it took a little time investment, but it didn't cost me any money if I don't have the monetary means to put hundreds or thousands into learning UI UX. So I think, hello, you got to learn somewhere. I think that is a good option. Again, there are a couple of certificates or small programs. Again, I recommend the Udacity UX Nano Degree program. I also recommend the new Google UX certification through Coursera, and I'll try to link both of those below. Overall, I think it's up to you. It's up to you. You do what you do. But taking a course early on would have probably helped me, again, kind of smooth imposter syndrome faster, or, set me on a better path faster versus me kind of just jumping into the field and having a lot of trial and error. So for my next tip comes my favorite thing, which is mock projects. If you follow me on Twitter, you should follow me on Twitter. Then I love mock projects. So for me, I feel that if you are creating projects to create a portfolio, obviously you haven't necessarily worked anywhere yet, then you should tailor your portfolio to the places that you do want to work. So if I, personally me, I go for social good startups or nonprofit because I like to design that makes an impact. And so that's kind of my thing. That's my niche. So if you wanted to design for sports companies, you want to do sports app or sports themed things, or you want to design for fintech startups or financial companies, then you need to create projects that really speak to those people, because when those hiring agents from those agencies or those companies or those startups come to your portfolio, you don't want them to have to do mental gymnastics to imagine their company in their app or their features being designed for you. You want them to see, like, oh, they've done similar. I can see it. I can see them here. And so the perk of doing mock projects instead of taking low budget projects and dealing with hell clients just because you're new and you don't know shit and you're just taking whatever you can get. You're on Upwork, you're on Freelancer, and you're just like, whatever, I'll do it for $200. I'll design your whole app just because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get something for a portfolio, and it's some company that is something that has nothing to do with what the hell you want to do in the future. Stop doing that. It's not worth it. Stop doing it. Make up a company, a nonprofit, a cause, a startup idea, a beauty brand, something that fits the type of projects you want to do, and make a mock project. The other plus to mock projects is you can choose what you want to display or what skill you want to display. So if I want to show a full spectrum, then I will do the research on target audience and user personas and all of those things, wireframe it, prototype it, design the UI for the app if that's what I'm trying to show. But again, this is a mock project. So if I just wanted to show my UI skills when it comes to an app for a nonprofit, then I can literally skip all that Do some intuitive design and create some screens for this fake nonprofit. Make things that are tailored to what you want to do so that in the future, people hiring you for projects or a job can envision themselves in your portfolio. That's my thing. My projects, baby, will get you what you want. Because as a senior designer, if you're working in agency or you're working with startups that are not quite launched yet, they're in stealth mode, like, you will catch some NDAs and they will have you locked down on privacy for years. So if you need something for that portfolio, you might want to make a mock project. I have them in my UX portfolio. I love to do them. It keeps me sharp even if I'm in a role or on a contract where I'm not doing a wide range of things. I can do it on my own with mock projects. They're my favorite thing. Can't you tell? Can you tell? They're my favorite thing. So last but not at all least is to set goals. So when you're self-taught and kind of self-studying and doing things at your own pace, it's kind of hard sometimes to see your progress or to kind of hold yourself accountable. So one of the easiest things to do is set goals. So you might want to say, in 6 months, I am going to learn everything I can and start applying for junior roles. You might say, in 1 month, I am going to have completed a course or studied things on my own, created my own syllabus, and studied all the essential things I need to know. You might say, in 3 months, I am going to have studied and started building out projects, and I am going to launch my first portfolio online. So whatever your goal is, you might think further out. You might say, in 1 year, I am going to be in this position at this kind of company. Whatever your personal goal is, set it first, a big goal, and then break it down into small actionable goals that you can make time for, and slowly, but surely work towards them. So all in all, that sums up my 5 tips. If you're here, you probably watched a million YouTube videos, Googled it, look at a bunch of stuff, but now I'm telling you to just get started. Don't research it to death. Start researching your path, start practicing, start setting goals, and really start moving forward and accomplishing these things. I am here for you. So whether it is in the comments, like and subscribe, comment, ask any questions, DM me. I'm Lindsey Created on both Twitter and Instagram. You can ask me any questions there. I'll either answer directly or make a YouTube video to share with the masses. And we are going to get you guys into UX UI if it's the last thing I do. So stay tuned, and until next time.